All right, everybody. So we have Alan Thrall with us today. He is founder of Untamed Strength. And today we're going to be donating to Semper Fi. So can you just explain why you chose that one?
Yep. Before opening the gym, I was in the military. I was in the Marine Corps. So it's pretty straightforward.
Cool. Yeah, and they, they help out veterans and everything. So this, I think, will be the second or third one that we're donating to for. So obviously a good cause.
Very cool.
And so I know your story a little bit from seeing some other interviews you've done, but for people who don't know, can you just give a brief background on where Untamed Strength came from, like what the story behind that?
Yeah, I was in the military before opening Untamed Strength in the Marine Corps, and I'm sure we'll get more into this later on, but I just had this eagerness to open a gym while I was in the Marine Corps, and so I decided that that's what I was going to do. And the name Untamed Strength kind of came, the word untamed kind of came something without boundaries or limits, or being in the military, just having my whole life regimented. It was the opposite of that. I wanted to be untamed, and so my buddy and I actually kind of came up with that idea, and I said I wanted strength somewhere in the title, because that kind of quickly explains what the gym's all about. And so Untamed Strength, kind of that idea came, and then getting out of the Marine Corps, I started from there, and I got my own gym, and that's how it started.
Awesome. And you're also a starting strength coach, is that correct?
I was a starting strength coach.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you pretty strongly believe 3x5 is good for everybody, right?
Not quite. It's a good, yeah. All kinds of opinions on that. It's a good program. I don't think it's the best thing out there. And I don't think anything other than that sucks, which some people might think. But no, I was a starting strength coach, and then I teamed up with Barbell Medicine, which is Austin Baraki, Jordan Feigenbaum, Leah Lutz, and a handful of other people. And I was coached under Austin. And then there were some arguments, some back and forth amongst kind of Barbell Medicine side and starting strength.
Okay.
A lot of disagreements, and they just weren't really being addressed. It was kind of just like a back and forth, kind of attacking each other. And so, the Barbell Medicine guys were like, this is not healthy. We're done. We're no longer associated with starting strength. And I just went ahead and went along with Barbell Medicine.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the short.
Yeah. When was that? When that divide?
Had to be earlier this year.
Oh, okay. So pretty recently.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago.
Okay. So even though you're not doing it, I guess, as much now, I just wanted to ask one or two questions on that. Was just that obviously when people talk about starting strength, they have that idea, 3x5 and linear progression, and that's everything about it. So there are coaches, though, who are very advanced themselves. I mean, you're obviously a very advanced lifter, and you went through it yourself. So how does somebody who's a coach for starting strength coach somebody out of that beginner phase? Do they completely change principles, or do they still try to tie in those principles?
Most starting strength coaches still try to tie in the same principles, which I think is where the disagreement came between Barbell Medicine and starting strength.
Gotcha.
It wasn't so much that they disagreed. Well, I would say that they agreed on kind of how to coach a novice, how to teach the lifts. They agreed on the whole model of how they teach the squat, the bench, the press, and the deadlift. And they didn't really have anything too much to say about the novice linear progression. They thought it was, it worked. It's a good program. It was more of, once the novice program stops working and now the lifter's no longer novice, where do we go from here? And that's where a lot of the argument, or at least challenging, a lot of starting strength ideas, that the starting strength guys didn't really like it. And so anyways, the, starting strength side of things, they always try to just continue to add 5 pounds. We got to figure out how do we just keep adding 5 pounds, because that's what you did in your novice phase. Whereas, the Barbell Medicine guys and myself included, we're kind of like, it's not really how it works.
Feasible.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the only thing we need to be concerned with. And so there were a lot of these training theories that that just weren't jiving post novice.
Yeah.
So that was probably the biggest disagreement between the two organizations.
Okay. So what does, I guess, your camp believe in terms of the transition then to the intermediate versus advanced? Because personally, I can't even imagine how, if somebody was thinking that they could just add 5 pounds continually, I don't even understand how you would be training anybody, because obviously that doesn't happen. So
right. So they would say that if you're doing 3x5 and you can no longer add 5 pounds to the bar each session, maybe let's just drop down to 5 sets of 3, and that'll get you to continue adding 5 pounds for a little bit. And then they would say, like, well, okay, now we'll go weekly. So let's just add 5 pounds a week. And so it's like this 5 pounds that just gets spread out further and further. And so, that's what they would say. But because they think that the most important thing is adding weight to the bar as fast as possible.
Yeah.
It's just not how things work.
Right.
So, but now to answer your question, it's when you say like, where do you go, once you're done with the novice phase, where do you go from here? That question would be answered differently depending on what novice program you're doing. If you were doing starting strength, if someone said, I've been doing starting strength and I've ran out my linear progression, I can't add 5 pounds to the bar any longer. That's a pretty straightforward answer as far as where we need to go from there. But, someone might just say, yeah, I've been in the gym, I'm a novice, I don't know where to go from here. And it really depends on the program they're doing. So, saying a novice program doesn't exclusively mean starting strength. It could be a number of different things. And obviously, like, where we go from here in programming depends on what you're doing right now.
Right.
So some people might say, I'm a novice. I found 531. I've been doing that for a little while. Where do I go from here? And my answer would probably be a little bit different.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think most people do associate novice program or novice phase with like starting strength or maybe strongless 5x5.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, there's not a one answer to say like, once you're done with the novice phase, this is what you have to do as an intermediate, because the novice phase could be a number of different things.
Right.
So.
And I mean, for you, I know you largely do the strongman stuff, but you still are doing a lot of traditional weight training, right? I mean, it's not like you're just to practice for strongman, you're just doing strongman lifts all the time, right?
Right. I haven't done strongman. I haven't competed in strongman in actually quite a while since working with Austin, who's my coach right now, part of Barbell Medicine.
Yeah.
Because I came to him with the goal of, I just want to get my main lifts up.
Like the big 3 or some unique ones?
Yeah, the big 3.
Okay.
Squat, bench, and deadlift. And since I've been with him, I've done a couple of powerlifting meets, and I've done strength lifting meet, which is squat, press, deadlift. And so during that training cycle, we were focusing more on press than bench. And so, but it was mainly I want to increase my squat, my bench or my press, and my deadlift.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him that I want you to help me be a better strongman. And I'm gonna respect what he's telling me to do and do it to the best of my ability and not throw in a whole bunch of other strongman stuff.
Right.
I'll do it every once in a while, but it's not the bulk of my program right now.
What are your lifts that you've hit on those big ones so far?
A 550 squat, 350 bench, 240 press, and 600 deadlift.
Okay. Yeah, those are all pretty proportional. And then you said you've competed a couple times. Are those roughly the numbers you want to hit in your next meet, or are you trying to aim a lot higher?
Much higher. I really want a 600-pound squat, 650 deadlift, and a 400 or 405 bench, which I think are all doable. But I don't have a meet planned right now, so I'm not sure when that'll be. But I'm looking forward to just hitting, some decent numbers in the gym. Doesn't have to be on the platform. So
sure. And I mean, because you've been lifting how many years now, as far as like serious lifting?
I started lifting in like middle school,
right?
And I lifted all throughout high school. Once high school was done, I stopped lifting for a couple of years, and then once I joined the Marine Corps, after all the initial training, once we started having a little bit of free time, I got back into lifting weights. I would go to the gym on base and I would lift weights again, and I kind of fell back in love with it. Met a couple of guys who turned me on to powerlifting. Just the idea of it. I wasn't competing, but just the idea of powerlifting, and rather than focusing on chest and shoulders and back and biceps, let's have like a squat day or a deadlift day. Let's worry about increasing those numbers, which is something I wasn't doing before. And then they also turned me on to Strongman, and I did my first Strongman competition while I was in the Marine Corps. And that really set the desire to open up a gym that had Strongman stuff in it while I was in the Marine Corps.
So what drove you to, because it sounds like you kind of got into the powerlifting lifts early. What drove you to Strongman over just going right to powerlifting?
It was just, honestly, I don't even know if, when I did my first Strongman competition, I'm not even sure if I knew what powerlifting was.
Okay.
I don't think I knew that there's a competition that you can go compete 3 attempts for your squat, bench, deadlift.
Yeah.
When I say I got into powerlifting, I didn't really know what I was getting into. But, in hindsight, it was powerlifting. But it was more like, I really like these main lifts, the squat, the big lifts, the big compound movements. I want to focus on those. And so it was more that.
Okay.
And I don't even think I knew that there were powerlifting competitions. But it was just it was just fun doing the strongman stuff. Was just really, really fun to me. And in a way, back then there wasn't as much, nearly as much social media, and I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a phone, so I didn't have the internet. So this was all like really underground to me. Like the only time I've seen this stuff was on World's Strongest Man, and so to be able to flip a tractor tire or lift an Atlas stone that one of my buddies had made. It was just a lot of fun, and so yeah, and it was, and being competitive and going to going to an actual competition, and competing against other guys, was something that I haven't done in a long time outside of high school sports. So that really appealed to me. It was more competing, and I just happened to run across a strongman competition, so that's why I picked that.
Gotcha. Are you aware of different injury rates or higher injury rates in strongman? Because I imagine just with it being so, you have all these oddly shaped things. It's not such a clear-cut range of motion. You're kind of trying to pick something up. Do you see higher injury rates there?
I don't have anything to directly point to, but actually, it's injury rate in strongman or just in strength training sports is actually fairly low compared to things like
soccer and
or basketball. Now, obviously, it's because the population size is probably a lot smaller. There's far more people playing soccer than there are, strongman. But I think relatively, it's fairly low. Like I've seen a couple of injuries in actual competitions that were that like someone needed to be hospitalized, but every time it was because of like they dropped a frame on their foot, or they dropped an Atlas stone on their foot. It's literally just dropping things on themselves, or they went up to, they were loading a keg over a bar, and their finger got smashed in between it and like kind of mangled up the tip of their finger, stuff like that. But I don't see any like traumatic injuries like breaking bones or anything like that. But and even here, owning a strongman gym and a powerlifting gym, there's nothing. People get beat up a little bit every once in a while, but no, I wouldn't say there's a high injury rate.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it wasn't high. I know, like you were saying, there are charts that show like per 1,000 hours or per a certain amount of time, every sport has a certain injury rate, and I think soccer is the highest, and then basketball and football, and all weightlifting activities are pretty low, with bodybuilding being the lowest. Powerlifting slightly higher. I just assume strongman might be a little above that because of like the unique objects, but it sounds like either way, it's not that significant.
Right. It's just, I mean, just having an understanding of how to brace, right, and how to pick something up. Like just even people that get into strongman through through just weight training. You know, like I like to deadlift, I've squatted, and now I want to try to pick this stone up. It's not too much different. And you quickly learn that you're not made of glass, and that, you know, lifting an Atlas stone with a rounded back is actually not bad for your back. It doesn't increase the risk of injury. But no, it's surprisingly fairly low. But yeah, I think from the outside looking in, people always, you know, look at it and go like, oh, my spine would shoot out my ass.
Right.
Stupid stuff like that. But no, it's fine.
Okay. Is your gym still largely strongman focused, even though you're not competing in strongman right now?
Yeah. So there's a good blend of all the members who come in here. There's a good blend of people who do strongman, people who do just strictly powerlifting. Then there's people who just do, I'd say, general strength training. So they just use the equipment. And then with that, a lot of people compete in strongman. A lot of people compete in powerlifting. But I don't know. Couldn't tell you what the percentage is like, but it's definitely a good blend of both, or all three: strongman, powerlifting, and just general strength training. Because a lot of people aren't here because they're like, I really want to compete in strongman, so I want to get good with the implements. It's a lot of people who are tired of training in a commercial gym, and so they come in here and then they see stuff that they're like, I want to try to flip a tire. I want to do some farmer's carries because that, you know, looks like fun cardio. So yeah, it's just like I said, general strength training.
Yeah, I guess that's how you stick out too, because I know a few gym owners with more traditional gyms, and to be honest, it seems stressful as hell when you're trying to compete with, you know, places that have $10 to $15 membership fees and stuff like that. Did you ever feel that competition? I mean, I know you have a pretty unique niche there, but did you feel like other gyms kind of encroaching on what you made?
Not quite. Yes and no. One of the reasons why I separated myself and labeled myself a strongman gym was just because that was the only thing that I had that really nobody else had. And that wasn't right off the bat. It took a little while to actually realize. I tried to do like everything at first, and I even made little business cards that I still have when I first opened, and it said like powerlifting, strength training, strongman, Olympic weightlifting, athletic training, calisthenics. It was like I tried to put everything on there. And so it was just a watered down, shitty gym, in my opinion. But it wasn't until strongman started getting more and more popular, and then I hosted a strongman competition, which was pretty popular. The first one I hosted. Cool. So then I was like, I just need to run with this strongman thing, and so I started advertising myself as strongman only. And I think that definitely separated me from the other CrossFit gyms. There's 24-Hour Fitness, California Family Fitness, Fitness 19, Crunch Fitness. There's all kinds of commercial gyms around here, and there's plenty of CrossFit gyms. But I was the only, you know, strongman gym that had real strongman equipment. So I ran with that. But as far as pricing, yes, like it definitely took quite a bit of time to figure out. I don't want to undercharge. I don't want to overcharge and scare people away. So it was this back and forth of like, and there have definitely been plenty of people over time, not so much now, but, you know, way back, you know, a few years ago, that would come in and they'd say, I can get a membership at Fitness 19 for $9.99 a month, you know, and it's like, I don't know, I'm not Fitness 19. It's, you know, so I'd have to like sell it, you know, which I don't really like doing. I'm not really a sales person. So yeah, there was definitely like some frustration at the start of like, I can't get away with charging $10 a person. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And especially years ago when I was really, really every month struggling to make rent, and it was strictly dollar to dollar. Like every dollar I made, I had to put it towards rent, and so I couldn't afford to say like $10, $15 a month. You know? So yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've kind of said to Steve Hall. I don't know if you know him from Revive Stronger, and Silent Mike, and just like you guys who are kind of doing the fitness thing as your main source of income. I realize that it's got to be stressful because everybody is kind of doing it now, and you have these gyms to compete with. And like you said, there were times where you were just barely getting by with rent. So what kind of kept you pushing through those times rather than just saying, okay, screw it, I just need to get a normal job because this might go under?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was more of like, I just didn't, it was just like fear of failure, or I never my back was against the wall. Like I had to do something. I had to figure something out in order to make money to pay rent. It wasn't like I had a secondary job where I said, this is just taking too much time. I'm going to close this gym down. It's not worth it. I had no backup plan at all. There was no, like, I couldn't even picture myself working somewhere else or working, working for someone else. And this was the only thing, like, for the past several years, like a couple years in the Marine Corps, I was just thinking about this every single day. And I was set up to where I believed this was all I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I just there was no backup plan at all. There's no safety net. And so I was just kind of pressured into like, just do something, just keep moving. And so there were plenty of times where I was stuck with like, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what to do. And so every morning I would just write down 3 things that I'm going to do today. And sometimes there were, small things that didn't really make a big difference, but I was like, I just have to keep doing something.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't much thought process. It was just like, I just had to figure out how to do something. And there were a couple times where I was like, well, I did just get out of the military. I could figure out how to like go back to school, part-time, and I'd get paid for it. Which would help with income. But I was like, I don't want to take more time away from this gym. I just want to put all my energy into making this thing work.
Yeah.
And so I decided not to do that. But there were other times where I was like, I had to sell some of my personal stuff to get some money to pay rent that I didn't want to sell, but I was like, whatever, I can't. I got to make rent. And then I was actually for several months flipping tires, figuratively, not literally. I knew where to find all these tractor tires, and so I'd drive around town and put them in the back of my truck, and I usually get them for free, and then I put them on Craigslist and sell them, and I deliver them for a price. And so I was getting these tires, acquiring these tires, and selling them on Craigslist so I could make rent for the gym.
Jeez.
And that was working. Like I was making a couple $100, like, a few $100 a month doing it. But then I was like, I can't just like keep barely floating along doing this. I got to figure out how to get the gym to make me money, not these damn tires.
Right.
And so slowly but surely things started working out. But
that's awesome, man. Because right now I think we see Alan Thrall, like the super strong guy, the guy with hundreds of thousands of followers with this awesome gym. And I think it's very easy to forget about those periods of time where things were just getting by. And I think a lot of successful people have some stories like that, where it wasn't all glamorous. They had failed businesses or they had something like that. And I forget what the exact quote is, but there's something like a desperate man achieves great things or something like that. And like you needed to, you didn't have a choice, right? You had to do it. So
yeah, definitely. I actually just did a Q&A with a couple other YouTubers. I just put the video on my YouTube channel yesterday. I don't know if you're familiar with Joey Zatmary, Brian Alsrew.
They both sound familiar.
They're also strongman YouTubers.
Okay.
Brian's got about 130,000 subscribers. Joey's got like a little under 20,000. But we did have you ever seen the talk show or the YouTube channel, Hot Ones? The First We Feast.
So I don't think I have. No.
Yeah, it's a show where this guy does an interview with people, and they eat really hot wings during the interview. So geez. we reenacted that, and I did it with Joey and with Brian and another guy named Nick. But I asked Joey and Brian, who are both gym owners. That was one of the questions. I was like, as a business owner, I know what it's like to struggle. So can you tell me about maybe your lowest time when you? And so it's cool. It's really interesting to hear their side of it, which most people don't. They just see these successful YouTube channels and they think like, man, this guy owns his gym. He gets to make YouTube videos. this looks like the life, you know. But
right.
yeah, hearing them like talk about how low they sunk to where they were like, Joey said, yeah, at this point, I was just thinking about committing suicide. He's like,
Wow.
two gyms that failed before this one, and so yeah, it's interesting to hear, you know, the backstory to some of these guys.
Yeah, for sure. And unfortunately, I mean, there are this people who they don't come, they don't come up. They don't make it. And I mean, obviously, the statistics for a successful business are pretty low, which I think is also something people forget. You know, they see you or Omar or somebody like that who's huge, and they think, well, I'll just do that. And we don't really hear about the 90% who it just kind of dies out. So, so as far as, I mean, you've been training, the reason I asked before about like when you got into it is, I mean, it's probably at least like 15 years or so now, right? It's been quite a while. And so you're talking about taking your squat from like a 550 to a 600. How does somebody at your level go about still making a 50-pound gain? Not that you've made it yet, but I believe that given like your determination and everything, you'll probably get there. How do you go about that at your stage?
So it's programming, good programming, which I've only recently learned about. So had I been doing since I've been working with Austin, I was doing for the past 15 years what I've been doing for the last 2, I'm certain I would be way further ahead.
Yeah.
But within those 15 years, there was a lot of, obviously ups and downs. Some goals changed. Some periods of on and off. I didn't train for a couple of years outside. When I got out of high school. But anyways, that's a good question, and it's probably way beyond the scope of this podcast to discuss programming.
Yeah.
But it's doing a little bit more than I'm currently doing, which is kind of like on the topic of adding more volume, increasing work capacity so that I can handle more training. So it's, I mean, if you want to take a look at my current programming, it's squatting 3 times a week, deadlifting twice a week, benching 4 times a week, and then pressing once, maybe twice within that. And so, yeah, it's hard to say like what exactly needs to be done. I can't say because I'm not even certain. Nobody is, right? It's a lot of like trial and error. Like we're gonna add some of this in. We're gonna increase this. We're gonna pull back on this and see how you respond. So that's why I do online programming, and I don't send 1 year of programming.
Right.
It's like weeks at a time to see how the client is responding. So there's not a straightforward answer. I could, once I squat 600, in hindsight, I could look back and say, I think this is what really helped me get there. But I think it's frequent exposure to submaximal singles, actually practicing what I'm trying to get better at, which is squatting singles if I want to squat 600. And then slowly accumulating a little bit more volume or exposing myself to a little bit more volume, do more kind of thing. So
yeah, I'm glad you brought up the weekly changes, because actually somebody who, I won't say their name, but somebody who just signed up to be trained by me, they said, well, can you just write me a 12-week program and just send it to me? I was like, no, I can't. Like, I can't tell you what I'm going to do even like 4 weeks from now. We have to adjust. And it's obviously even more so like at your stage where it's, everything needs to come together to make progress. So how are your joints and everything holding up with that high frequency on those lifts?
It's fine. It's
Really?
that's a pretty common question, or maybe even a misconception that, see, we can adapt to anything in the gym, right? Almost anything. And so just as you adapt, your body adapts and you get stronger, you also adapt to more volume. I would never take someone who says, hey, I've just started lifting a couple months ago. I've been doing starting strength 3x5. I need your help. And then I say, all right, we're going to do 5 sets of 10, all at RP8, 3 times a week. That would be dumb because that's way too much volume for them.
Yeah.
But to say, hey, we're going to start doing 3 sets of 6. We're going to start doing 4 sets of 5. you're squatting twice a week. Let's, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to bump it up to 3 times a week, right? So it's very slow increments to actually get them exposed to that, and you adapt to it. So, it's not that someone goes from doing 3 sets of 5 to doing 8 sets of 5, and that's going to help them. It's slowly exposing them to 4 sets of 5 and 5 sets of 5, right? More and more. When you look at like the very top end, like some of the best squatters in the world, weightlifters, not powerlifters, but when you look at weightlifters, some of the like actual Olympians, and you hear about them like squatting every day, twice a day. There's even like Max Aida made a podcast with I forget what the name of the podcast was, but he said something like he squatted at his prime, he was squatting 26 times a week or something like that.
Wow.
And anyways, that's just a long period of like he needs more in order to get a return on what he's trying to do. Whereas if you're just starting out, you don't need that much to actually get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I think I don't know too much about right. I don't know too much about weightlifting, like the sport of weightlifting itself, but my understanding is for those guys at least, part of that is there's a weeding out process, and there's a lot of guys who can't handle that degree of it, and they just kind of fall off. And those coaches of those teams will look for the people who can just take the like constant abuse to their bodies to get to that high level, and obviously that's a genetic thing as well. Right.
Yeah, that's the whole Bulgarian system.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm not at all suggesting that we need to squat 26 times a week.
All right.
But in a way, what I'm trying to say is that we can like adapt to a little bit more. It's not that every single human can only do 5 sets of 5,
right?
Or every human can only squat once a week. And like you said, there's definitely a genetic component to how much work you can actually handle. But just like we can get stronger and adapt to training, our work capacity can increase as well, and we can get used to that volume. Your joints, your tendons can get used to all that volume.
Right.
As long as the dosage is appropriately, put into your program. So,
do you think a lot of at this point, most of your gains or like in the strength are coming from getting used to the lift, like you said, and maybe like neurological adaptations, or do you think you're still able to be putting on significant amount of muscle to help with the strength there?
I would say that there's a lot of it. Some of it's practice. Like I said, doing the frequent singles is a skill and something that you need to be exposed to if you want to get better at it.
Right.
So there's that. There is some neurological benefit, definitely. There's definitely, practice, like I said, and skill. But I don't think that, just looking at the scale, my weight hasn't changed too much since, working with Austin and putting on the pounds that I put on my lifts. My body weight hasn't changed too much. So you would assume that, it's hard to say, but you would assume that my muscle mass hasn't changed too much.
Yeah.
But it very well could have like increased a little bit of muscle, decreased a little bit of fat,
Right.
And you don't always see it on the scale. But no, I don't think I'm getting so much stronger because I'm just putting on heaps of muscle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How much are you weighing now?
About 230 to 240. And my weight does fluctuate like that much, like 10-pound range. Just based on the end of the week, how much I've been eating or how busy I've been. But usually around 235 to 240.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty big because you're around 6 feet tall.
6 feet tall, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
So, with your military background, how's that? You almost like just talking to you kind of just sound like somebody who's been in the military. And I think you had mentioned in another interview I'd seen where you said it really improved your confidence. How has that affected how you train, if at all, like that background, or even how you go about life?
I would say that I've been pretty disciplined my whole life. And I don't think I really learned that from the Marine Corps. I think that actually telling people what to do, the Marine Corps has definitely helped with that. So being in charge of like a group atmosphere for group training at the gym, or being in charge of someone during a personal training session. When I first started doing it, it was kind of tough, but I got much better at it. But I think the Marine Corps helped with that in terms of like a lot of people, if you just put, 20 people in front of them and I tell you, okay, tell them what to do. A lot of people don't really know, they're timid, they're shy, or they think, what if I look like an idiot? What if these people don't listen to me? What do I do? So I think the Marine Corps helped a lot with that, but I wouldn't say that it made me a more disciplined person. Because I was pretty disciplined going into it. So yeah.
Okay. And you obviously worked out while you were in the military, but was it just kind of like basic things there, or did you learn anything about serious weightlifting while you were in the military?
Yeah. The military didn't teach me anything about lifting weights. Okay. Obviously it's a lot of running, pull-ups, push-ups. You'll do like combat oriented stuff to where it's like, martial arts stuff, or it's, a buddy drag or a fireman carry, stuff like that, like kind of circuit training. But I was fortunate enough that my job in the military, we were always on like a rotation, like a job rotation. So someone might have day shift, someone might have night shift. Someone might have morning, afternoon, or evening shift. And so typically in the Marine Corps, everyone's, doing the same thing. It's like a 9-to-5 job. Your whole platoon or company wakes up, you go do company PT, you work out together, you guys go on a run, but we didn't have too much of that because, like I said, everyone's on a different rotation. So, if our platoon was on duty, there was another platoon sleeping, in the middle of the day. So it was, so physical fitness and training was more on us.
Okay.
And there were a lot of people who just used that as an excuse to not do much at all. But for me, it was like I really like lifting weights, so I'm going to do that. And that was all that I did in the Marine Corps. That's all I cared about doing in the Marine Corps. I just did my job, and then I wanted to lift weights. And so I don't think that I learned much of anything from the military. But it was more, I learned all that stuff while in the military,
Gotcha.
not because of the military.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And, now obviously you've been out for a while. And do you think the success of your gym now is largely due to how much social media has boomed? Or do you think it's something that you kind of would have been able to accomplish on your own? I'm sure they kind of go hand in hand, but.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see, the butterfly effect if I went back in time and never put a YouTube video up, like where the gym would be at now.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely helped. I would say that it helps more currently it helps more for online training because obviously YouTube channel lets me reach people around the world, not just here in Sacramento, as well as people wanting to work with just me. So like, personal training, or I schedule a lot of like one-time form checks, and that's really big. That's 100% from advertisement of YouTube. It's people that watch my YouTube channel and they're like, hey, I'm going to be in Northern California, or I don't live far away from you. I want to come schedule an appointment. So that's 100% dictated by, how many YouTube videos I'm putting out, it seems like. But there have been plenty of people who come into the gym, not because they wanted to come see Alan Thrall. They found the gym on Google. And what's nice about YouTube being owned by Google is that all YouTube videos index within Google search. And so anytime someone's in the area and they type in powerlifting, Northern California, or Strongman, Northern California, whatever, Untamed Strength always pops up. And it's all my YouTube videos that pop up and the website, only because there's so much traffic there. So these people, will type in keywords on Google, all my videos will pop up and they'll go, oh, this guy's in Sacramento. So it's helped tremendously in that aspect that I can just, rather than paying for ads, Google AdWords and all this kind of stuff, or rather than paying people to optimize my website so that SEO is higher, it's more of like, I'll just put more and more YouTube videos out.
Yeah.
That'll get the brand out, and then it's within Google. So it's helped a lot in that sense. but it's been a number of things like, hosting a competition at the gym. A whole bunch of people show up and they go, wow, this is a cool thing. I didn't know this was in the area. Or, word of mouth. But that's definitely like, no matter, you can do everything perfect right off the bat, but word of mouth is still the most powerful form of advertisement, I think. You can have a kick-ass YouTube channel and open up a perfect gym. But if nobody's been there, if nobody's around to talk about it, it's going to be slow. So it definitely takes time to build up clientele. And like for the first couple of years, it was honestly, I don't remember who was the first person that came into the gym, like completely detached from anyone else in the gym. But it was a long time. And what I mean is, at first it was like my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and my brothers would come. And then my girlfriend was like, I'm going to start bringing my friends for class tonight. And my brothers were telling their friends. And then they would kind of reach out to their family. And so everyone was like, yeah, I heard about the gym from so-and-so, from so-and-so. So it's this big network. And eventually people were hearing about it from afar. And, they would come in. But yeah, at first it was just a bunch of people who knew each other that were coming in.
Right.
But word of mouth, spreads. And it's still helpful. There's still new members who are like, hey, my brother wants to come check out the gym. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. And then he comes and signs up.
Cool.
So yeah.
Awesome. And what is kind of like last thing I want to wrap up with is, well, two things. So one is just where YouTube is going now. I see you as somebody who's like really takes the lifting seriously, and you're clearly not in this for the YouTube fame, but you happen to be kind of YouTube famous. And so do you think it's going in the right direction? Do you think, the fitness community is going in the right direction, or not so much?
I don't, for as much as I post on YouTube, I don't even pay attention to YouTube. I really don't watch. If I do watch YouTube, it's usually not fitness related videos. So I just don't pay much attention to it. Even my own videos, I don't really, I'll post it, I'll post it and I'll forget about it. I won't like check to see how they're doing. I don't look at any comments. I stopped doing that a while ago for reasons I'm sure you understand.
Sure.
I just don't really pay much attention to it. But I know that what I can say is it seems like a lot of people are reaching for more genuine content, not the gimmicks and the I mean, there's still a huge appeal to that kind of stuff, but it seems like there's a lot of people doing well who are not the six-pack abs or six-pack shortcuts, Mike Chang type stuff, which used to be pretty popular. But I think that
surprisingly,
right. I think that people are moving past that now, and they want like real people who genuinely want to help, and people that they can relate to. I'm sure that a lot of people watch my channel because I seem like a pretty normal dude who likes lifting weights and sharing information. And it's why, if I put a video of me deadlifting 600 pounds, which is not much at all in respect to like what's being done,
what's possible,
right. It might get more views than someone posting a video deadlifting 900 pounds. You know what I mean? Because they look like, or a Brian Shaw, like, oh, Brian Shaw's this huge freak monster. I can't relate to this dude, but I can relate to Alan. And so anyways, I think it's people are really attracted to more like genuine content. So I think that in that sense, it's moving in that direction. It's good. It seems like, from what I have paid attention to, it seems like the information videos the informative videos are kind of outplayed. Not to say that I'm not going to make those anymore, because I still like doing it. But it seems like everyone is posting a how to squat video or squat tips. And it's becoming more, seems like videos that are doing well are more entertainment. Like if you look at Juji Mufu's videos, are doing really well right now. And I think it's because people find him entertaining. It's kind of like a sitcom, right? He's like always posting these videos. They want to check in and see how it's doing. It's just watch for a good laugh or whatnot. I don't know. Maybe it's moving more to like a either just entertaining videos or maybe more of like a Netflix type, like people like series where they can like tune in every week to find these videos. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. It is interesting. I think it's like when people watch TV shows and they kind of get invested in the characters. And even if the TV show kind of starts becoming crappy over the years, you're still watching because you're invested. And I feel like with YouTube, like, Omar Isuf could put a video up of him like eating a sandwich. He'd probably get 100,000 views because it's Omar and people just like watching him at this point,
Yep. That's why it's important to figure out what you have to offer and go for it. And that's one reason why I kind of put these blinders on and just do my thing. Because I feel like once you start looking at what other people are doing and trying to copy that, it's nothing. Like you said, Omar posts a video of him eating a sandwich. He talks about the macros of the sandwich. Gets 100,000 views. But Joe Schmo does the same thing. Nobody's watching it. They're like, this is the dumbest video I've ever seen.
Right.
Because he's trying to do exactly what Omar's doing, but that doesn't work. Juji might put out really entertaining content where he's like all over the place, just being a psycho, like he's sniffing ammonia inhalants and like he's on cocaine doing backflips, and people love it. And if I tried to go make videos like that, I'm sure it'd be a flop. You know what I mean? Because it's not. I'm just trying to copy him.
Sure.
So yeah, just find out what you're good at and do it, and hopefully people will be attracted to it. So
awesome. And I like to end on kind of like an actionable step. And so I know this is going to be a tough one, but for people who are, I say tough like as far as success rate, but for people who maybe want to open their own gym and they are kind of at a divide in their life, they're not sure which direction to go. What advice do you have for those people?
Don't do it if you're not if you're not 100% sure that's what you want to do. I think that, like we talked about earlier, one thing that I had on my side was just this 100% all-in desire to do this. I didn't want to do anything else, and I had a couple of other job opportunities that I could have pursued that would have paid much better, but I didn't want to do that at all. And so just being all in. And I've met plenty of people who ask me, they're thinking about opening a gym, and they always ask me, is it worth it? And I hate that question. And I'm like, you need to tell me if it's worth it. Don't let me tell you. Like, if you're not 100% convinced that this is worth it, I don't care what it takes, I want to do this, because it's going to be hard to, be an entrepreneur in any sense, not just a gym owner. But if you don't know that it's 100% worth it, don't do it. And you could have told me I'm going to lose all my money. It's going to be really hard. You're going to have to sell your belongings. It's going to be years before you even get anywhere with this. It's going to be a flop. You know what I mean? I would have said, I don't care. I still want to try it. I still want to do it. It's worth it to me. So you got to be all in, and don't let someone else tell you whether or not you should or shouldn't. That was another thing. There were plenty of people who would, like, just being in the Marine Corps, seniors in the Marine Corps, you had to, once I was getting out, you have to tell them like your plan. There's a bunch of classes that you have to go, like, transition from military to civilian, back to civilian. And they want to make sure you're set up with a plan getting out. So I had to tell, all these guys like what my plan was. And I couldn't tell you how many times they're just like rolling their eyes and telling me I'm
really.
But I didn't care. I was like, I don't care what you say. I don't need your approval. Like, I want to do this. It's worth it. I'm going to try my best, so be all in. That's my tip.
Awesome. Well, very real advice. That's good. So you're on trainuntamed.com, right?
Yep.
And you have the YouTube channel, Instagram, anywhere else people can find you?
Nope, that's it. I don't have a Twitter, or I don't really ever use Facebook. But Instagram, YouTube, Train Untamed.
Awesome.
That's it.
All right. Well, thanks so much for talking today.
Absolutely, man.